Hi and welcome to Philosophy with Phil, with me, Phil Cohen. And for this video, I want to talk about Shavuos. And I want to talk about an aspect of Shavuos that not a lot of people talk about. And that's the idea of food. Something that's very much important in Judaism. I'm going to start with three quotes or incidents and I want to show how they seem a little bit odd, but how if we understand them in relation to food, they kind of make a lot more sense. Firstly, the Gemara tells us about Rabbonim who would fast as a way of achieving closeness to God. Okay. Now, I'm not here to advocate that as a way of doing it. If it's something you're interested in, please speak to a local rabbi. But they would do that. But it says that there are 2 days of the year that they would absolutely not fast and would eat and indulge themselves. One of them was Purim, for the Purim Suda. But another one was Shavuos. Now, obviously on other festivals and on Shabbos they would eat because there's a mitzvah to eat. But they would eat the bare minimum, I'm assuming. But on Shavuos, particularly, they would go full out and eat to their heart's content. So you've got to ask, why Shavuos? Number two, at the end of the Sedra of Mishpatim, end of chapter 24 in Exodus, we read about the aftermath of the giving of the Torah. And there it says that the elders, their response to this amazing revelation of God and the giving of the Torah was to sit down and eat. Again, seems a bit strange. In fact, there are some commentators that say they were later punished for doing so. What's the connection between food and the giving of the Torah there? Lastly, I want to bring in a medrash from Shemos Rabbah, beginning of 28, number 1, section 28. And it says, and there's a lot of midrashim, and there's a whole load of Gemaras in Shabbos that talk about Moses coming up to the mountain to receive the Torah and his reception there by the angels. How he interacted with the angels that saw Moses as a way of coming in between their relationship with God. And it says that the angels were very hostile towards Moses, sought to attack him, but then God made Moses look like Abraham, and said that just like Abraham was hospitable towards the angels that visited him, and this is a reference to the Genesis chapter 18, where the 3 visitors come to visit him. Turns out that they're angels. Just as Abraham was charitable towards them, so too you should be grateful to him, and you should show him the due respect. But you see again the connection that God's making between Abraham and food, and Moses coming up to receiving the Torah. What's going on? Well, let's start by talking about numbers, because Shavuos is all about numbers. We count our way up to Shavuos from Pesach by counting 7 weeks, 7 full weeks. 7 sevens are 49, and on the 50th day is Shavuos. And numbers play an important part in that, and I'm afraid, yes, we are going to have to go into some gematria here. 49 is the number that's made up of the letters of the word Moav. Okay, Moav was the tribe or the territory from which Ruth descended from, and we read about that on Shavuos. If we break up the letters, Mem, Vav, Aleph, Beis makes up the word 49. And that represents, okay, the natural order multiplied within itself to get the square of 7. But that's the natural world. That's 7. We always associate 7 as being the natural order of things. As we've said, I think about about Sukkot, that Sukkot is about the natural order of things, nature. 7 days of Shavuos, the seven items that we take, that we bring together in the 4 species. 7 is about nature and about the material world, and that's what we as Jews come to sanctify. Pardon me. Well, we do that by adding an extra layer, adding something else to it. And so, if we add 1 to the 49, we get 50. 50 is the gematria of the word kol, chaf lamed, 20 and 30. And we see that Jacob, when he confronts with his brother Esau, after their long time apart, and there's all that tension that comes with it, he says to Esau, how are you doing? And Esau says, I've got lots, I've got rove, I've got lots. Whereas Jacob's response in chapter 33 verse 11 is to say, I have kol, I have everything. In other words, I don't just have the material side of my life, I have the spiritual side as well. That one extra layer, that one layer above the physical world. So your question's going to be, okay, that's one step above. What happens to the next level above that? We've got the 49, the physical world, the 50, which is that one step above. But what happens if we go to 51? 51 is the gematria of ochel, to eat. Aleph, Chof, Lamed, 1, 20 and 30. When a Jew sits down to eat, they can transcend even the world of angels. We see this in our Shabbos Friday night meal. We're just about to sit down and eat our Friday night meal, and we say goodbye to the angels by singing Shalom Aleichem. We say thank you for escorting these 2 angels that the Gemara tells us, or some say there's 3, that escort us back home from shul. But they are no longer needed at the Shabbos meal. We can, by eating on a Friday night, transcend that level of the angels. In fact, some have the custom, of switching over the challahs, that we eat from the lower challah. Because what we're doing when we have those 2 challahs there, is we're showing that there is an upper world and a lower world. But what we're doing is we're transforming that lower world by eating. We're transforming what we have, our physical being, our physical sustenance, our food, and transforming that and raising that up. And by doing that, we can achieve a level far superior to the level that angels can only reach. And by that we say, okay, goodbye. We don't need you. We've got this. Similarly, on Seder night, again, when we're sitting down to eat a very, very holy meal at a very holy time of the year, we start the Seder by reading out a paragraph in Aramaic, Halach Ma'anya. That too is described as a language, a paragraph that the angels, in whatever way, shape or form, cannot understand. And we're saying goodbye to the angels. We don't need you from now on in. We're there with God. Through our food, we can transcend all of these things. And so, when these Rabbonim were fasting, they were fasting as a way of bringing themselves closer to God. But that was through abstinence. On Shavuos and on Purim as well, another day they didn't fast, one can connect to God through physical actions, through eating. And that is the life that God wants for us, after all. He wants us to live on this world and to enjoy this world. When those elders of Israel sat down to eat, they were showing God that they were enjoying the moment. They were living in the moment. They were eating and raising their food to that level that could be seen as being spiritual. That was their response. Likewise with the angels and Abraham. When Abraham sits down to eat with those angels, in Genesis, in Bereshit chapter 18, verse 8, We see that Abraham stands above the angels and raises himself above the angels, the Torah tells us, just by eating. So Shavuos is an opportunity to use not the spiritual world, but the physical world. It's a very earthy day. It's a day when we read about Ruth. And the story reads, if you might say so, very much like a soap opera, like a film. It's just a story. But that's where the richness of the day comes in. It's about the material world. It's about our physical sustenance. And it's about day-to-day life. And that's the message we can take forward. That's one of the messages we can take forward by celebrating Shavuos. I wish you a Chag Sameach. Don't eat too much cheesecake, but do enjoy the Yom Tov. Have a happy, healthy Yom Tov.